Welcome back, everyone, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Kevin Horde here.
Lorenzo here.
What's up, Lorenzo? What do we got this week? What are we talking about?
We're talking Clone Wars. This time, heroes on both sides. That's Season 3, Episode 10.
Awesome. I've got a production of 306 with the release date of November 29th, 2010. Does that sound correct?
No, I have an air date of November 19th. You moved ahead 10 days there. Or you moved back 10 days.
Time travel.
Yeah, I don't...
Yep, it's totally the 19th, and I just wrote down the 29th. How about that?
Yep, I got nothing for you there. So
Off to a great start. Written by Daniel Arkin and directed by Kyle Dunleavy? Question mark? All right.
That is correct.
At least I got that part right. This is our 57th episode of the Clone Wars. So
yes. We're moving right along here.
We're moving along, but we're still less than halfway to the point of when it stopped airing, but also before it starts airing again. So,
what? Wait, what? I don't. One more time?
Because there's
it's halfway through.
We're still less than halfway through the first 125 episodes, which is when it ended the first time.
Okay. So that's just season 5, right? You're not counting the Netflix?
No, that includes Netflix.
That includes Netflix. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Just double checking.
Yep.
Yeah. Like,
and then,
as of right now, because it doesn't exist, I'm not counting the reboot as anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just counting 6 seasons, period.
Do you call it a reboot? Do you think it's going to be a reboot?
It's a reboot in the truest term, right? Like, hey, we're literally rebooting this franchise to start again.
Gotcha.
Right. So I'm not referring it to as a reboot as like, hey, we're just gonna start the sucker back up.
Like the Ghostbusters reboot.
People are misconflating reboot and remake, which is bothering me, right? Yeah. They're misconflating those two terms a lot. Clone Wars, upcoming Clone Wars episodes, whatever the newest one is, if we're counting that as season 7, that is a reboot. That is a reboot in terms of we had this long gap between the end of the Netflix series and the start of this new Disney era Clone Wars, right? That's a reboot. But no, like literally remaking a movie, that's a remake. It's a remake that is rebooting a franchise, right? But that's still a remake. Sorry, guys.
Complicated.
Yeah. So no, the new one. It's a reboot. It's definitely a reboot. The Force Awakens is Disney rebooting the Star Wars franchise. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So that's how I view all of that.
Yeah, I get you. And technically you're correct, and then probably popularly you are against the mold on that one.
Yeah, I'm swimming against some waves here.
Yeah, but that's all right.
Yep.
So
but, like, as just final note, like, since we don't have like a release date, anything, like, I'm not. That's why you confuse me, because I'm like, what? Yeah. We're not halfway towards what now? Like, so, because like theoretically speaking, that show could still be canceled before it even begins. You know, like
that would be fucking terrible. Don't say those things.
It can. Stranger things have happened, man. Movies have gotten canceled. You know?
I saw Stranger Things season 1 and season 2, and nothing in that show led me to believe that the Clone Wars season 7 was going to be canceled.
I'm just saying, New Mutants has not been released, and it might not ever. We got just a few more days until Disney and Fox completely merge, and we got a trailer for New Mutants about 2 and some years ago. It was supposed to come out in 2017.
That is correct.
Let me double check the calendar here. I am just looking at nothing, just being a jackass.
It's not. It's past 2017. Is that what you're getting at?
I do believe so upon last check.
I thought it was 2010. More specifically, November 19th or 29th of 2010.
Right.
Because
So what do we got going on in this episode? Fortune cookie.
cookie. Fear is a great motivator.
Yes.
Who said it?
That's a palpy quote.
See, I went straight to Darth Maul
I was thinking that too, but
because
I'm thinking of
Palpatine.
I was going for both, but
Palpatine's like an asshole and a manipulator, but he doesn't necessarily rely on fear like Darth Maul or Savage Opress, whom we have not met yet.
yeah,
Maul is like
I'll go with Maul.
fear.
I'll agree with you on Maul. Maul, yeah,
Cool.
I agree with you on Maul. Maul was the other one I had floating around, but Palpatine was right in there too.
I definitely thought Palpatine first, and then I was like, nope, this is Maul.
It depends on what word you're stressing. Like, to me, Palpatine would do anything he can to just motivate people. But I think I agree with you that Maul would be using fear as a weapon first and foremost.
Well, because think about it, like Palpatine doesn't motivate Anakin through fear. Well, I guess maybe he kind of does.
That's the whole tragedy of Darth Plagueis. Like, that's exactly what he's doing there. He's like, yo, if you don't listen to me, then Padmé dies. But I can stop that. But I mean, it's if you don't listen to me, Padmé dies.
Good
like
point.
That's yeah. See, so it's like I said, it depends on what word you want to stress here. To me, motivator was why I went to Palpatine. Palpatine is he's not one to make decisions for you. His life is Inception every day, where he's just trying to get to the base layer of your subconscious and incept ideas into you without you realizing that you're making moves that may not have been something you would have thought of on your own.
But yeah, I guess I'm totally with you there. And my last comment is I don't see this as I see this as something that Palpatine like lives by but doesn't speak.
I can agree with you there.
So
yeah. But again, that's the weird thing about these fortune cookies. Like, they're just, that's why I call them fortune cookies and not quotes, right?
Yeah, I think on Wikipedia they're called the moral of the episode.
Always, yeah,
and I don't think that fits. I think fortune cookie fits better than moral, and probably both of them fit better than forcing this to be a quote from somebody. But that's what we do, so be it. You know.
Yeah. So, anyways, what do we got going on in this episode?
Newsreel. This is about the shortest newsreel that I feel like we've had up until this point, because it's basically like two little montage shots of some clones getting shot up, and it's like, hey, there's a war going on, and bad shit's happening, but the Senate wants to talk about this other stuff, and like, cut to the Senate. That's where we are. We have some guy named Senator Sam kind of pleading his case to the Senate that he believes that the Army of the Republic needs more troops. So then we've got Organa, Lotdad, Mon Mothma, and a Kaminoan, I guess, senator, which kind of surprised me because I didn't know that the Kaminoans were part of the Senate. They're all debating, like, Republic, the credit of the Republic, not Republic credits, not the currency, but the actual ability for the Republic to attain credit to purchase things, and whether or not they're close to bankruptcy and whatnot. But, yeah, so this Kaminoan, it bugged me that this person of Kamino is at the Senate, because like 2 years ago people didn't even know that Kamino existed,
right?
And now there's a representative from Kamino in the Senate arguing that the Republic needs to get more money so that they can
their
go
economy
to so that their economy can thrive.
Right. There's definitely vested interests here. And I suppose the idea that after Camino is revealed to be a planet that does in fact exist, it would only make sense for them to get some representation of their own, right? In joining the Republic, it like, you know, they're the creator of the clones. Would you have foreseen them going with like the Separatists?
I mean, that would have been might hilarious. As well, because if there wasn't the Separatists, then there would be no need for the clone army.
Right.
So what's the difference, you know?
Yeah.
Do you think that they're actually a part of the Republic, or is this one of those things where it's like the banking clan and the Trade Federation have senators or representatives? Is this just like the clone creators, you know, like the cloners of Camino? But they're not, like, the planet itself isn't actually part of the Republic. It's more like the organization.
I mean, both, all of it. Like,
okay.
I don't know if there's really a difference, honestly.
Okay.
You know, so they're there. That's bottom line. They're there.
So at this point, Padmé decides she needs to get in on the conversation. She flies her little pod down. And her comments are that it's not about fiscal responsibility, but about moral responsibility of what should be done. So what she wants to do is talk it out. You know, why can't we just talk to the Separatists and instead of throwing more into, you know, more money into this war and more lives into this war?
Right.
A dude from the banking clan whose name I think is Nick's Card.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's Lot Dodd, and then this Sam guy again. This is after we get out of the Senate. Organa is the one that says we need to wait on this vote on the war until we figure out if deregulation of the banks is proper. And so everybody's just like, okay, we'll come back tomorrow.
Yeah. I don't understand the idea of deregulating the banks, which will open up more credit. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I was looking in
how that works
to bank deregulation and trying to figure out how that was appropriate for this particular situation. Here's what I'm thinking. Right. I think what in the Star Wars universe, when this deregulation, I think what that would do is essentially allow banks to loan more money than they have, knowing that they will pull the money back in later.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, say a bank has $1 million in their vault,
mm-hmm.
but they give out $1,100,000 loans.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, the loan itself is just like a guarantee that somebody is going to pay the money, and the bank is taking the liability of the debt without actually being able to cover the debt.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. It still seems irresponsible for a Senate to approve of such measures, if that makes sense.
I completely agree.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just weird that this is the vote that is coming up at the beginning of this episode. Or the topic, shall we say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so moving on, you started mentioning Nick's Card.
Yeah, Nick's Card, Lot Dodd, and Sam. What's Sam's first name? Do you have that?
Goom
Sam?
G-U-M-E? Goome? I don't know.
Goom Sam.
Goom Sam. Goom Sam. Yeah.
So they have a little clandestine meeting, and what they're talking about is how to get the Senate on their side. And Nick's Card, who is a Mun from the banking clan, his idea is to stage an attack on Coruscant. And I think one of the two, Lot Dot or Sam, says Coruscant hasn't been attacked in over 1,000 years, which I'm calling bullshit on.
Right, there have been like endless battles happening on Coruscant. Like, I don't.
Right,
what
we had a Zillo Beast attack.
Right,
we had Cad Bane come to the Senate and murder a fucking senator.
Right,
in the Senate building, a week ago.
I don't know where this phrase comes from, and I'm glad you brought it up first thing, because as soon as you said that, I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like, the war has happened on Coruscant so often.
Mm-hmm. I think it
Especially
comes
in
from
season
like
3,
the.
like,
Go ahead.
no, especially just in a season 3 episode, like for them to try and lay this claim down. It'd be one thing if it was like season 1,
Right.
But even then,
But not
like,
after we've seen repeated stories of
right,
things going on.
right, things just going awry in Coruscant. Like, come on, guys. But anyways, yeah. So this scene is also interesting to me because it's just clearly just war profiteering. The movie happening, right? Like, that's all it is. Like, it's
and
like,
it doesn't get better from here. Like, the three of these guys, their agenda only continues to build and become more explicit,
right? Like,
as the episode progresses.
Seriously, all that's missing is some like mustache twirling. Like,
very true. That would be nice.
So, yeah. What do we got next here?
We cut to Anakin and Padmé in the hallway, and Ahsoka is following closely behind them. Ahsoka, by the way, new outfit.
Yes,
she is
finally
fully dressed.
Yeah.
She looks a little bit older.
Just a little bit.
She's a little taller. She's got a new character model, a little more mature, and I don't mean that to sound weird, but
she's less teenager-ish and more young adultish.
Yes.
You know, it's a subtle difference for sure. But for sure the outfit changed, and I'm just happy about that. She's just definitely, there's still a lot of skin happening, but she's not in tube top anymore.
No tube top, mini skirt and tights.
Oh God, yeah.
We have moved on from that.
It's really weird that this is the episode that change happens in. I don't know why there isn't like a more, I don't know, just specific episode. It's just the fact that we're like partway through season 3 is just kind of weird.
I think because I'm wondering if the first. So as far as production goes, season 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would have been Clone Cadets, which I don't remember her being in. ARC Troopers, I don't remember her playing a major role in. I think it's because this is like the first major story with her. I remember Dave Filoni talking about like why it was this point that it happened. And I think it just came down to kind of when the character model was done and the like her in the story, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. It was just like the most convenient time to kind of plop the new character model in. Okay.
Yep.
Makes sense.
So, I'll give a thumbs up on that, like positive for that one. But they're walking around kind of talking the semantics of war, right? And Padmé says, Anakin, I want you to go to the Jedi Council and have them talk to Palpatine and see if he can open up some negotiations, which totally happens in Revenge of the Sith, right?
Yeah.
Like, she says the same thing. They're like walking down the hall and she's like, hey, I want you to do this thing. And he was like, don't ask me to do that. And she's like, but you're buddies with him. And then he gets really fucking pissed. Maybe he gets pissed because she has like repeatedly asked him this, because at this point he's like, no, that's not my job. That's not what I do.
Right.
And she's like, well, it would be nice if somebody could talk to him. And Padmé's like, why isn't it something you can do, Anakin? Like, I don't get it. And then Ahsoka starts talking about the war in general and says that she just doesn't understand like where the fighting started. I think she says, I know that the Separatists are bad because of reason X, but I don't know why the war started to begin with. And then Anakin totally avoids the question, is like, Padmé, why don't you teach my Padawan some politics? Which I guess comes back to bite him in the ass, because then Padmé like puts Anakin in his place and is like, I'm taking Ahsoka. You told me you wanted me to talk to her, so we're outsies.
I'm just going to follow her around. Yeah.
Anakin is not in the rest of the episode.
Nope.
Which is kind of all right, you know? We get a whole bunch of real quick cuts for, like, I feel like the next 18 minutes of this episode.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got this feeling also.
I don't know.
But we go from the hallway.
It moves.
Padme and Ahsoka leave together. Then we cut over to, like, Dooku and Grievous. And Dooku's like, hey, you got to make sure this thing happens because it's really important. And then we cut back to Ahsoka and Padme. And Padme is talking about, like, her friend Bonteri. And Ahsoka finds out that Bonteri is actually a Separatist. And she's like, oh, you're friends with a Separatist? And then they come up with this plan to use Ahsoka's Jedi immunity to go to Mandalore to then jump on a cargo ship to go to
Raxus.
another planet. I find this silly on more than one front. One,
yeah,
Padme has totally gone to Mandalore just fine.
Yep.
Like, not even on an official mission. Like, she can go there, visit her buddy.
Yeah. Checking in. Yeah.
You know. And two, I thought that, like, trade was really limited on Mandalore. So, like, going someplace where there are no taxi cabs would be a bad idea to get a taxi cab from that place, right?
Right.
Like,
well,
you don't
after the
go
last time we
to-
visited Mandalore, didn't they kind of deal with the lack of supplies moving in and out of Mandalore? Is that kind of what was resolved?
We found that there was some corruption.
Right, but
I
not
don't
if there was a
know.
solution.
Right, I don't necessarily know that there is a definitive solution.
Like if trade opened up a lot more in the light of the corruption. Okay, that
We
makes
basically
sense.
found out that one guy was, like, controlling a bunch of shit for his benefit
Right.
when things could have been better for the planet. Probably not great,
Yeah.
but better, you know? And he tried to claim that he was doing it all for the benefit of everyone.
Greater good.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Um,
weird. This is a weird plan. Like,
but,
the end goal of the plan makes sense to me in terms of going to talk to her friend Bonteri to spark negotiations, right?
And they can't do this openly because it's illegal to talk to each other.
Which also doesn't make sense to me.
I think that they probably have to, like, sanction it through the Senate and not just, like, a rogue senator decides to, like, go and talk to somebody
I
else.
guess that makes sense, right? It's also kind of weird to me that Ahsoka is, like, displaying shock at this when Ahsoka has, like, Padme has a very straightforward answer. It's like, you know, like, we were all in the Senate together and I was friends with these people before the war started, and therefore when they became a separatist, like, we're still friends, just difference of opinions here.
I think that Ahsoka's shock is just her naivete. Like, she really doesn't understand, like, why all this is happening to begin with. She just knows that she's on this side, those people are bad. Doesn't necessarily understand, like, how those people went from being, like, part of the Republic to being the Separatist, right?
Right.
So that when there is this revelation, in Ahsoka's mind, it's like good guys, bad guys, right?
Again, it's just weird to me that, like, season 3, Ahsoka is expressing the idea that she has no idea why the war is raging. Just that it is, she understands good guys, bad guys, but she doesn't understand reasoning behind it, right? She doesn't understand why her clone friends are dying.
It totally makes sense to me, because think about how we're introduced to her. She's just like this eager go-getter kid that lived at the Jedi Temple, and, like, now she gets to get out in the world, and one of the first things she says to Anakin, you know, she's like, oh, we need to go do this thing, and he's like, no, like, you need, oh no, she's talking to Rex, and when she's like, well, I'm a Jedi, so that means I outrank you, and he says, to me, experience is everything. And she's like, well, let's go get some experience then. So, like, she's only living in, like, the moment of what she's actually doing. She's starting to mature as a person now. Like, this is a
don't
year.
You think there? No, but don't you think there's still, like, some history lessons? Or
there should be.
Like, you would still have to explain to your generals what's exactly going on, right?
Right, but have we not talked so many times about how Jedi are completely ineffective generals because they're
absolutely
not military strategists, they're philosophers with fucking samurai swords.
It's still all, but samurai know what they're fighting for, right? Like this piece coming at this point it really just bothered me. Obviously, I just did not understand what was happening here. It made me more troubled with Ahsoka as a character.
Okay.
And you already know I'm not the biggest fan of her at all.
Yeah. I am not going to argue against anything that you have been saying. I was briefly trying to kind of provide an explanation, but I totally agree with you. It's we seem far too deep in this to have these questions arising, right?
Right. And especially at a point where she gets a character model upgrade that is supposed to make her slightly more mature, but suddenly she's just
I think that's what it's
dumber.
Supposed to be, is like with this evolution of character design, there's supposed to be like an evolution of character build, basically, right? Where now, and I don't know why it would just be all of a sudden now, but she's more interested in the details of what's going on than just kind of accepting everything at face value.
Right.
That's the best that I got.
Definitely, yeah, for sure. I understand. We'll just move on. I got nothing else there.
That's totally fine. At this point, we cut back to Grievous. Grievous is talking to Dooku and what's his name? Nick's card. And then one of the most bizarre scenes happens that I think we've seen yet, and it's Grievous walking back and forth in front of a bunch of droids, giving them a pep talk.
Right.
This is weird. That's my note just says weird in parentheses. Like, I don't even know.
His phrasing was weird because he's like, well, like, I hope you guys return. Actually, no, you guys won't return because they're going on a suicide mission.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know why he would even let that slip. Also,
usually he doesn't even care about droids. Like, he'll just punch their faces off and like, oh shit, somebody's here to get me. Like, push droids,
throw
out
a
in
droid
airlock
in front of them.
Right. He's definitely usually using them as like a living droid shield, as opposed to like walking back and forth and be like, all right, recruits, you got a tough mission ahead of you.
Right.
You're going to go behind enemy lines. And no, like, usually he's like, you go do this. I don't care about you.
Yeah. And these droids are weird too, because they're transformer droids, but they transform from
big badass looking droids.
Yeah, battle droids into like a sweeper droid,
like
a janitor droid essentially.
Mm-hmm. It's like a floor scrubber. Like a what's the thing that cleans your floor?
The Roomba.
Yeah.
It's like a Roomba with a dome on top of it.
These are giant Roombas that could transform into a droid killing beast and could cut your head off while you sleep.
It's an odd little moment. It's an odd little detail.
So all of this lasts like 12 and a half seconds, and then we cut back to Ahsoka again. They arrive on Raxus, right?
Yeah.
I thought this was interesting. They're met by battle droids on this landing platform, and there's just kind of people going like every which direction, and the battle droids are trying to like, ID people, check their identification, find out where they're coming from, whatever, and they just kind of meander off with the generic Star Wars disguise, right? Just hood up.
Yeah, just cloak. Yeah.
Just put a cloak on, hood up.
Yeah.
Nobody will notice.
Yeah. And what's funny is the droids are checking everybody's ID, but then the Padme and Ahsoka kind of walk behind them, and then they get corralled by some of Bonteri's people, and then that's how they avoid getting ID'd by the droids. They're like, oh yeah, just keep following us. You're with us. You're definitely with us.
Yep.
And then the droids are like, yeah, that's exactly what we just saw. You didn't get off that ship. You're just with them.
Yep. Absolutely. You think there may be like an official checkpoint? I don't know. That might make sense, but whatever.
Yeah. You would think there'd be like an official customs point, but no. But
there's customs on. We're talking a different show right now, but there's customs on the Colossus to like get to and from like the outside to the inside, and it's weird. It's labeled the Colossus. There's customs on Coruscant, like when you go down too many levels, you got to go through customs, but not here. But we do finally meet Mina Bonteri. Sounds like Nina, but with an N.
Yeah.
When Ahsoka starts talking to her, she's like super surprised because Bonteri's like, what? Like, yeah, like, yes, I'm a separatist, as you would call me. You know, what kind of what did you expect me to look like? You know, did
and
you think I was going to look like a bad guy?
Right. Like I agree with her, and it's really bugging me how racist, I guess, Ahsoka is being throughout this episode. Like openly so.
She's separatist.
Yeah, there's no subtlety in Ahsoka's reactions.
Not at all.
This entire planet, essentially.
Right. So, did you know that, like, when they flew up to this, did you know it was Raxus?
I figured it might be. I never
had to
expected
rewind
to
a couple of times because, like, you see the planet and it's blue and green. It's semi-Earth-like, and then they fly in and it's kind of bleak looking, but more brown and less gray. And I was like, wait. That didn't look like Mandalore, because the last that they had said anything, they were headed to Mandalore. So I like rewound it.
No, I never expected to see each step of that journey. Like, yeah, like I agree with you. Last thing,
I didn't really either, but then it's like, usually the first time I watch these, I'm like 3/4 paying attention.
Does
that sound terrible? That I admit that, but so. You know, it's like I saw a planet and then I saw like bleakness, and I remember they had talked about Mandalore, and like that's what you see when you like approach Mandalore. So then I like rewound it and I'm like, no, this is blue and green. So then I'm like, okay, this must be Raxus, and then obviously it is, and but it did confuse me for like a half a second enough that I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back a little bit and just clarify everything for myself here. But yeah, we're on Raxus. We head over to the Bonteri house / castle up on a hill. Not exactly sure what it is. A large manor of some sort. Bonteri calls for her son, Lux. And Lux is about Ahsoka's age. Later they have this nice conversation about like, oh, you look nice. Like, did you think I was going to be bad because I'm a separatist? Did you think I was going to be bad because I represent the Republic? Like, I don't look so bad to you, do I? And I guess they both come to some realization about something. Padme and Bonteri, for kind of the rest of the time that they're on planet together, are just drinking martinis and like hanging out. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
It's just kind of is what it is. Ahsoka straight up blames Bonteri and the Separatists for starting the war, and Bonteri is nice and cool and collected and says, you know, from our point of view, you call us the Separatists, but we feel the same way about your Senate and your Jedi as you do about us. which I thought was a nice touch. You know, she's not lecturing this young lady. She's not throwing anything back in her face. She's just saying like, hey, you know, you gotta, perspective is everything here.
Right. Yeah.
You know, which I thought was nice because the comment that Ahsoka had earlier in the episode was basically, I don't even understand why the war's going on. I just know those are the bad peoples.
Right.
And so she tries to call out the bad peoples, and the bad peoples are like, whoa, hang on. Maybe look at it from the other view, and you're the bad peoples.
Right. And also, just the idea of that the Separatists could have grievances of any sort seems to be a surprise to Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
In something like the Senate, which contains apparently like hundreds and hundreds of members, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's gonna be disagreement. It's really weird that Ahsoka doesn't understand that agreements can spin out farther to the point of having separatists, right? Like it's in the name. So again, this whole thing with Ahsoka is just weird to me.
Yeah, Bonteri says something about her husband being one of those people that definitely believe that the Senate and the Jedi were to blame for starting the war in general. And Ahsoka's like, oh, well, can I talk to him? And Bonteri's like, no, because he died because he believed in this cause and he was doing this thing and he was killed in your war that he believed you guys started. So then Ahsoka's kind of sad and excuses herself and goes outside. She's like, I need to get some fresh air. She runs into Bonteri's son, Lux, but not before we cut back to Coruscant just to show some cleaner droids being unloaded or like exiting a ship and going through customs there. And then we cut back to Raxus. Like, it's just a back and forth thing. We've had plot, like A plot, B plot, but these are quicker cuts than, I feel these are quicker than in that movie that I can never remember the name of with Jennifer Lawrence, where she invents a mop.
Joy.
Spoiler alert, did not like that movie. Anyway.
Wait, what's the connection to Joy? I completely lost you there.
So in Joy, like, there's no scene that lasts longer than like 14 seconds. It's just like the whole thing is like one extended montage.
Big montage, yeah.
And this episode is almost just as bad because it's
like
it's like fuck. It's hard
moments.
to even keep up with because
moments.
it's like cut to Coruscant, droids are being unloaded. Cut back to Ahsoka. Ahsoka says something to Lux. Cut over to Padmé. Padmé has to talk to Lux's mom. Cut back to Coruscant. Cut over to Dooku talking to General Grievous. Cut to General Grievous looking at Dooku talking to somebody else. And it's just like cut. This whole thing. Right. So, I don't know. I'm just having a hard time getting through like the plot of this thing because it's just like jumpy back and forth. But basically what we have is the droids have arrived on Coruscant. Ahsoka and Lux are walking around, so they start talking to each other about their perspective of essentially the other. This is where we get the, well, I don't look so bad, right? And I don't look so bad, but then...
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought you mentioned this already.
But we also have like this weird thing where like Ahsoka like does this little like hand on hip pose when she says, I don't look so bad, right? And he totally checks her up and down. And he's like, nope, you don't look bad at all. And she's like, of course, the boys on Raxus would be like the boys on Coruscant too.
Yeah, I don't know what she's thinking here.
I don't either. Yeah. It's terrible.
But, yeah.
Bonteri and Padmé debate Dooku because I guess Bonteri like is a proponent of Dooku, and she's like, oh, he's not even like the leader of the army; he's just the leader of the Senate. Which this was news to me. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, that the Separatists have their own Senate, like
not only that they have their own Senate, but that like the senators see Dooku as just like the head of the Senate,
and not as a military leader.
Right.
Yeah, this is where her argument falls apart for me completely.
Okay.
Because there's definitely clear evidence all over the place that Dooku is leading an army, right?
I mean, to us, but to them, is that not common knowledge?
Yeah, like they'd have to be very blind to not see that, being that he's always flying around. Like, he's actively in it, too. It'd be one thing if he was... Like, it's one thing like Palpatine to kind of give orders from the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
But Dooku is actively in it fighting. He fought Yoda.
True.
Right. So,
Very true.
I don't... For them to not catch any evidence of Dooku being an active participant in the war side of things...
Like, this isn't an oversight, right? This is just something that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Okay.
It's Bonteri being just absolutely blind.
I'm glad we're on the same page. I did like how at this point we do cut to like the Separatist Senate, and we get to see their kind of setup. Dooku's not even there in person, but it's funny that
like more evidence. I don't.
Right. It is funny that this group of people is kind of shown as like a more rational people. Like when you see the Senate of the Republic, like everybody's just bickering and arguing back and forth and nobody can agree and all this stuff. And then like you see the Separatist Senate and there's like a couple opposing views, and then Bonteri's like, hey, this is what I think we should do. I think that we should vote to end this war, and let's at least try to talk to the Republic. And Dooku's like, let's put it to a vote, because there's some guy that's like, well, this is a democracy, and we can vote on it, but I doubt that the corporations over at the Republic would agree.
Yeah.
And then some lady's like, that's exactly why the Republic is bad. I don't know, something about corporation, whatever, corporate greed, yada yada yada. But Dooku's like, let's put it to a vote. Let's put it to a vote. Ayes say aye, no say no, and the ayes win. He was like, okay, well, I'll go talk to the Chancellor then. Bye, and fucking like hangs up the holocom. It's the weirdest fucking thing ever.
Yeah, and it's weird too, because this is clearly taking from inspiration from British Parliament. The architecture of the building seems to be the same way, but the manner in which it's run is completely opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Parliament is always a little rowdier. It's kind of part of their process is
it's like the hooting and hollering. Each other?
Yeah, the hooting and hollering, right? So, yeah, for this to be like, yes, I agree. We should vote. I too agree. Right. This whole thing is weird. Moving on, though.
So at this point, we get a nice bad guy meeting between all of the previously mentioned bad guys and Dooku. And Senator Sam says, we need the fighting to feed the machine and our profits.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, this is...
mustache twirling. Yeah.
Yep. So mustache twirling, and then Dooku basically says after this attack, the chances of peace will disappear. And then he's like, all of you guys you'll get your cut of the war profit. So don't worry about that. We cut back to Raxus just for everybody to say goodbye to each other. Then we cut back to the droids on Coruscant, and as they're like doing their cleaning and scrubbing, up pops like a hologram of Grievous.
Yeah, which nobody sees. Nobody sees.
This is
out in the open.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody notices it. Yeah.
So he orders like phase 2, whatever that means. Right. These droids sneak through security, and they say they're like going to repair something. I don't know. They're like, everybody recognizes them as cleaning droids. Like, I don't know why there's this whole thing going on with like a security check, and then they're like, oh, we're gonna repair a generator, and they start to go one way, and then the clone officer or the clone trooper that lets them through security is like, no, you're going the wrong way. The generators are that way. And turns around. He's like, stupid droids. Like, I know this is supposed to be funny, and it just
not at all.
This one falls pretty flat. So the droids are on their way to wherever the fuck they're going. Padmé meets up with Palpatine and fills him in on the Separatist intention to talk for peace. He asks where she gets the information. She's a little bit coy about it to begin with, and then is like, off the record, like, I totally snuck over there and talked to my friend, and everything's going to be good. Like, you just need to talk to Dooku, and this war is going to be over. Were you surprised that she just, like, gave all this information willingly to the president of the universe?
Not really. Like, she's a divulger. Like, you know,
do you
not
think
all the times, but...
Do you think he already knew?
No, I don't think he knew.
Because I figured, I mean, I guess that maybe Dooku and Palpatine hadn't talked, but that would, if he didn't know, then that would lead me to believe that
Palpatine maybe knew that the Separatists they came to that vote, maybe. I don't think he knew Padmé was the one that put it together.
So probably neither of them knew that Padmé was on Raxus.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm down for that. At this point, we cut back over to our droids. They transform into these, back into the big hulking, like, attack mode. They kill a bunch of maintenance guys, like a shit ton of maintenance guys. Like, anybody in an orange jumpsuit and a khaki-colored helmet just wiped out. Done. Cut back to Padmé at the Senate, then we cut back to the droids, then we cut back to this other thing, then we cut back to the droids, then they transform back into their cleaning mode, but then they, like, hook two together.
Yeah.
And that turns them into a bomb. I'm not really sure. This blows the power.
Like, the point where they connect to literally has a countdown clock on it, which is, like, the dumbest fucking thing.
And it's not running minutes or seconds. It's just running this arbitrary, like, sped up
just
countdown.
Random countdown. Yep, random countdown.
Because it starts at what should be like 3 minutes, but the countdown only takes like 45 seconds.
Right.
And it doesn't even do like the cutaway, cut back, and it's like ticking down slowly. Nope, it's just like rapid firing through all fucking numbers, counting down.
All the numbers, just going through it.
All of them. So they blow up, and somehow this cuts power to the Senate and like part of the area.
But it does not change anything except the lighting.
Yes.
Like, microphones still work. They're still floating around in their little hovercrafts inside the Senate. But all the lights turn red, and that's it.
And there's honestly, like, a senator that's like, the power's out. This has got to be terrible. Everybody panic.
Right.
And so then it's just pandemonium. There's, like, people run around the streets and you know, might as well be, like, run around corners and, like, knocking heads together and on accident and falling down. And in the Senate, like, everybody in their little pods, like, shoots off in different directions. Like, they don't even go, like, park back to where they got into the thing. So I don't know if they're just, like, trying to escape out the ceiling, like a bunch of moths stuck in a net or something. It's very, I don't know, it's bizarre. Somebody says that it's confirmed as a Separatist attack like 4 seconds after the lights go out. I don't remember who that was. But yeah, then we just cut to Padmé in the hall with Ahsoka walking up to Anakin. She's like, I'm going to return your Padawan now. Anakin scolds Ahsoka for what he calls going way too far. And Ahsoka's like, hey, like, you just do whatever the fuck you want whenever you want, all the time. And he was like, yeah, but this time you went too far. So, like, don't give me that shit. Ahsoka says something to the effect that she finally realizes that the politics of this war are not black and white as she thought they were. Like, there's shades of gray, and there's all this other stuff going on, and it's not just good guys, bad guys, which I guess is the moral of this episode. Maybe that should have been the fortune cookie.
Right.
Something about shades of gray.
Nope.
Padmé kind of gives her a knowing look, and then the three of them just walk down the hall in the red light of the emergency lighting and cue loud music, and that's that.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing you passed over, I think, did you mention that the bill for deregulating banks did pass?
I didn't even catch that happened.
Yeah, that's like the last thing that happens in the Senate room. One of them yells it out, and then they like do a quick vote. That's why I'm like saying I don't understand what the power did, because if they still have the ability to vote and float around,
it just scared them. Right.
So I got nothing there. But yep. That's it. That's it. That's the episode.
Phil Lamar did Gum Sam's voice, and Corey Burton did Nick's card, and this is actually a pretty interesting list of as far as credits go, because almost everybody in this episode voiced 2 or 3 or 4 people except for Ashley Eckstein, I think. But there was many more names in the credits than I expected, like character names that are never spoken in the episode and you probably never see again.
Right.
But most of the vocalized characters in this have full-blown first-last names, which I thought was interesting. I don't think we need to go through all 20 whatever people. But, yeah. So we start in the Senate, and then we shoot over to the Separatist Senate, and then we come back to the Republic Senate, and I guess plot B is some vacuums get sent by the evil droid guy to kill some maintenance guys and blow some fuses. That's the gist of what I got out of this one. So, you got anything else before we hit the thumbs up, thumbs down?
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
All right.
Yeah.
What you got?
Thumbs down.
Okay.
Hard thumbs down. Like, this is a deep thumbs down. Like, there was nothing enjoyable about this episode. As I was watching it, my first run through, I just like you said, it moves so quickly and yet nothing happens.
It just jumps back and forth, and it's just jumping all over the place, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Why are we doing this?
But again, too, it's like it's such a Senate heavy episode that it's like the worst parts of Attack of the Clones, right?
You know what? I feel so I'll just say thumbs down for me as well. Not as far down as yours probably is, but the more I talk about it, the deeper this thumbs down gets.
Yeah.
And I do feel like if we just stuck to the Senate, like the Senate stuff is fine. And we've had some pretty Senate heavy episodes before, but there were also Senate heavy episodes with purpose. This is really just like Ahsoka's got a new character design. That's the best thing about this episode is the way that Ahsoka looks. Like, she's upgraded a little bit. Her entire like demeanor and attitude and characterization are weird, but like the character model upgrade is nice. Like,
I agree. Just having her covered up is a lot better for sure.
Right.
But like, her character is so annoying to me. You know, and I understand that I'm in the minority here. I am aware that
I agree with you on this one.
Yeah. I am aware that she is a fan favorite, but I can tell you, having just jumping forward, having seen this whole series, having seen all of Rebels, I am not there with everybody else on Ahsoka. I hope maybe in this setting where you and I sit down for every episode, maybe I'll get a glimpse at what people are seeing, but this episode if anything, this episode knocks it back like 20 steps for me even, right?
I agree with you. This one is not it's not progressive for her purpose.
Yeah. And I agree there in the Senate talk, yeah, if there's like there's a possibility that there's a very interesting episode that could literally just be 100% 22 solid minutes real time in that Senate room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but the writers always just seem nervous or worried, and we have to introduce this idea of these cleaner droids that are bombs, right? Like,
and so I'm going to interject a little bit. And I think that, like, the cleaner droids that are bombs, I think that's a fine idea. I think the idea of Padmé going and talking with this Separatist senator that she used to be good friends with, I think that's good. I think the vote of whatever the fuck is going on with the banking shit and these guys that are like, hey, we got to figure out what to do for this vote to go in our favor because this is what we're actually here for. Like, we're not here for the good of the people. I think that's good. I think separately, these ideas could be developed into a solid story that I would give a thumbs up to. But when you smash them all together and you're just like, A, B, C, D, B, C, D, B, A, B, B, like, I don't care. At that point, I do not care.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's fear on the writing part here. Like, the writing just completely falls apart. And like, now that I mention it too, it's like just the idea. They just need to be more confident in letting the Senate stuff fly, right?
Just let it be what it is.
Let it be what it is rather than trying to spice it up with whatever else needs to be put in there. A show that does this, that has done this very well, which took inspiration from another show, but I'll start with the one that I'm definitely familiar with, is Family Guy, where Brian and Stewie get locked in the bank vault. Right? Like, that episode has zero cutaway jokes. They don't leave the vault. There's not even any music that plays during the episode. Right? And Seth MacFarlane talked about how that episode was based on an All in the Family episode where Archie Bunker gets locked in the basement or something like that. And it's literally just him in the basement and nothing else happens. Right? Like, that's what I need from Clone Wars or Star Wars in general, is just like a weird fucking episode where like Ahsoka gets fucking locked in a vault somewhere. But instead we will always have like somebody coming in and fucking shit up. Like Toto 360 is going to show up for some weird dumbass reason. We're going to have these robot cleaners that do their weird thing. Mustache twirling will always happen, right? Like, this episode is so exemplary of just the fear of the writing to just not commit to a single through line here. Right? Like, oh no, we gotta throw this entire kitchen sink in here. Like, it just, yeah.
I am in total agreement with you.
We need like one solid script editor, right? Like, you gotta get the script right. You know, like, how is this shit going to production when the script is so all over the place?
There was a 30-second segment of this show that had the perspective of like 5 different people and took place on like 3 different planets. And it was, and I'm not exaggerating, like Ahsoka and company, cut to Grievous, cut to Dooku, cut to Ahsoka, cut to Grievous, cut to Padmé. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And then also, side note, like, I get that it's illegal for Padmé to like talk to Separatists or something, but if she was actually friends with this lady, like, the lady knew she was coming, right? Bantari knew that she was coming, so she had to have contacted her at some point. So she probably could have just done this via like secret hologram or something.
Right. I don't know. Yeah, nothing.
Silly.
There's nothing in this episode that makes sense. Like I'm sorry. Like character model upgrade. That's my one positive for this episode. Beyond that, I cannot think of any other positives to this episode whatsoever.
I guess the only other thing that I got as far as any positivity goes is that we're done talking about this one. We can move on.
Yes, move on.
So
close it out.
Next week, we have an episode called Pursuit of Peace. That is season 3, episode 11. So that comes directly after this one. So we'll have to see if we feel a little bit better about that. But, if you want to tell us we're completely wrong about anything that we said this week, feel free to do so. And I will even give you ways to contact us. Look for us on Twitter at Not The Nerds, Facebook at Not The Nerds Podcast. If you want to email, that's at notthenerdspodcast@gmail.com. You can drop comments on YouTube. I'm pretty quick to respond to those. Other than that, we like to thank Lindsay and Kevin. You can reach Lindsay via email at strangefantasymusic@gmail.com. You can hit up Kevin, our artist, at Twitter at They Call Me Kidem. And I think that's all I got,
Yeah.
But, we welcome different opinions. So if you disagree with us, feel free to let us know. But
on any platform, that's iTunes, Google, Stitcher Play. Google Play, Stitcher.
However that works.
Like we're not only on YouTube either. So
absolutely,
wherever you're at,
anywhere you can find downloadable content, we're pretty close to being there.
The podcast.
As far as podcasting goes, yeah. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're not on Netflix.
Nope, not on Netflix. But anyway, next week we've got Pursuit of Peace. So until then. I've been Kevin.
Lorenzo here.
These aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Bye-bye.